All right. All right. Glad to see everybody here today. Thank you guys for joining our AMA on January 21st of 2022. We have a lot of very exciting developments, and we're very excited to share them with you guys today. And then we'll just go over a few updates, where we are in the project, and then we'll take some questions at the end. So we have a marketing company. They're doing a go-to-market strategy. They're implementing that right now. It's with a bunch of neuroscientists, psychologists. They have a full team, and they're actually going to be creating, it's like a 50-page going to the market with our products strategy that would be implemented. And we also have a CMO that will start on February. So just in a few, less than 2 weeks here. Yeah, and then as far as that goes, we will start ramping up the marketing and get our products really kicked off. We're timing everything for when we actually will be launching the products. We're estimating this to be around March. And as we've said before, we're going to have the test flight. So we will we'll put some more information out there. We're going to have an application process where people can, holders within our community will be able to apply, and then we'll have this application process where we'll allow 20 holders of Unimoon to be able to test out the Unimoon application. So that's very exciting. We estimate that will kick off around mid-March. We have our data scientist. He's cranking away with our algorithm for Unimoon, and we have some really interesting developments that would be integrated with Unimoon, our wallet, the digital identity. But yeah, I'll let Carl take it from here, and he can dive a little bit deeper into the specifics for the development process. Hey, you're muted, Carl.
Hey, there we go. Hey, guys. So yeah, we'll go over a couple things today. I know the community team's been capturing community questions all week. The admins have been doing a great job as always, kind of raking those. So I know there's like a list of AMA questions that we'll get to a little later on. I did want to give a quick dev update though, and cover a couple things. So the past week, we continue to iterate over the Unimoon mobile app. Right, it's gotten to the point where we have our approach, because we're so decentralized. We're taking really kind of trying to blend kind of traditional enterprise software development with kind of smart, quick, fast decisions in the Web3 space, right? And I do have a strong thesis that the model for software development and app development is going to change drastically over the next 5 years. And we're trying to take advantage of some of those efficiencies now. So we've got parallel work streams, right? So we're under a time crunch. We want to get this out end of Q1 at the latest, at least the MVP piece. So what we did is we spun up multiple parallel work streams I've mentioned before. So the long-legged stream right now is the Unimoon mobile app development. That was the first thing to start, from the design and some test versions, etc. And that's going. So we got a drop this week of the iOS app and the Android app, and it's primarily focused on the social media functionality. It's basically, we're using it to validate that the wireframes are looking good, that we have a couple of designers that are part of the design team for UX, making sure that Figmas are getting transferred appropriately for iOS and Android devices, etc. What's kicked off in parallel within the mobile development is the backend. So I affectionately call it the service mesh, but it's for technologists out there. It's the RPC API endpoints, right? So it's the backend business services, the headless services, database integration, etc. So that's in process too. What I'm going to try to do, let me know if you guys can see my screen. I'm kind of hoping you guys can see it. Bear with me 1 second, guys. Let's try this. I don't know. Can you guys see my screen? I don't know if you can.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good.
Can you see my whole screen, or is it kind of choppy? I feel it's choppy.
Yeah, it's choppy.
Yeah, we should be getting the mirror right now. Bear with me. Sorry, guys. There we go. Aha. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay, awesome. So we got the back-end APIs deployed, right? So, this is not much for marketing, but basically we've got some server-level services. Again, these are all dev credentials. This is going to be erased and redeployed many, many times. But these are the back-end services. So when you're working with a cloud application, even if you have a mobile app, there's cloud services that you talk to. The most of the services, I would say 90% of the services that we're using are things that the team's creating, right? These are basic things like user registration, 2FA, sending the SMS message. We're using a third party for SMS, but that still has to go through our platform. When you create a profile that says your name, email address, etc., that's stored in the Unimoon platform, right? Now it's integrated with a bunch of other stuff, but what we're doing is the team's implementing these endpoints right now, right? And it's going to be in a scalable fashion too, so we can deploy one instance of these endpoints. We could deploy 100 of them, depending on what we need. Now there's optimizations around the database. Obviously that has to scale, but that's in flight too. We've got the initial schema for the Unimoon application, so that means user profile, data model, all that stuff. We've got a draft of that. That's actually deployed into our relational database layer right now. So that's coming along. So the important thing is, again, we went through kind of very purposefully. We did the design of the UX because we want a really great and really sexy user experience for the mobile app. We got that design work done. We actually started coding that and got that implemented. We've got builds of those apps, right? Now we're starting to glue the back end and the front end together, right? Let's try this. Okay. Can you guys still see? Can you guys see those screens okay? There was some feedback last time that it was kind of hard to see some of the displays. But we've got, on iOS, we've actually got a Unimoon app, right? So it's here. It's just like the wireframes that we've shared with the community. And we'll eventually make some of these available, but it's basically the app's identical across iOS and Android right now. So it's a little bit. So I know it's a little difficult to see because the displays are different resolutions and brightnesses, but it's the same app on both devices, right? So the app's coming along pretty great. Recording while using the app. So you're able to actually take videos if you'd like. I know it's a little hard to see, guys, but I mean, recording.
Yeah, when it's time, we'll share more with the community. We're very excited to be able to deliver this to the community. It just needs to be done when it's refined to that point where we're ready, and it's ready. There's still a lot of things we're doing internally, testing, making sure that things are functioning the way they should. But yeah, the development has been moving along very, very steadily. We're very excited to be able to bring this to the market and to be able to really revolutionize the entire cryptocurrency industry. This is really exciting because we're literally going to be able to. There's a lot of different components to this, but we're essentially going to be able to allow anybody that has no experience with cryptocurrency, with NFTs, and literally be able to put this in front of someone's hands and get them into the space. They wouldn't need to even have any experience with cryptocurrency. They wouldn't need to understand a wallet. Carl and I are having a lot of conversations about the digital identity aspect and making sure that user experience when people are onboarding and signing up to make that as smooth as possible. So we have a lot of really, really exciting things in development, and it's all coming together. We're really on track to be able to deliver this, as we've said from the beginning.
Yeah, and where the team's at right now is we focused on getting kind of a familiar social media experience, just like we've said we would. That's coming to a completion right now. What we're looking to do in the next 7 to 10 days is these builds will have the cryptocurrency screen. So they'll have the NFT screens. They'll also have, more importantly, the beginnings of the wallet screens. So wallet initialization, being able to kind of see what's in the wallet, transaction history. So what we're at the point right now where I mentioned parallel work streams. These streams are starting to come together over the next 4 or 5 weeks. Over the next week, we're starting to integrate, and we actually, the past 10 days, we have the teams of the NFT team has been introduced to the mobile development team. They're starting to integrate. And I purposefully wanted to do that because, we're looking for efficiencies here. So we're taking best practices from the market. We're leveraging Solana. We're leveraging Metaplex. And the idea is we needed implementations of these things, right? So I wanted to get these teams, these experts in these different work streams, about 80% done with the familiar features, being able to mint an NFT, trade one, etc. And now this last 20% is integrating all of the work streams together, right? I actually thought the NFT marketplace would take longer. The team's rocking it out. So they're nearly complete actually with a beta version just for internal development purposes of the marketplace. I've actually used it. I've used it to mint a couple of NFTs on Solana's mainnet with the Phantom wallet. So again, there's customizations there. We have to use Wallet Connect, point it at our network. So that'll happen over the next week or two. The other thing that we're talking about too, from a design and a technology standpoint, is there's a very kludgy experience. That's our belief right now in the Web3 ecosystem and in crypto. If you want to use an NFT marketplace, you pretty much connect your wallet and then use that as your identity. But that's fine. But wallet portability, even with Wallet Connect, is very kludgy, right? You have to go a bunch of places, etc., right? So what the team's focusing in on is focusing on the Unimoon app as kind of being the center of the universe. So the user to register and get provisioned onto the Unimoon blockchain and the Unimoon network, you have to start in the Unimoon app, right? You download the Unimoon app, you either log in with Facebook or your Apple ID or your Google ID, which is we call federation. You federate in, you get a profile here, and then once you're in the ecosystem, you start building up your profile. Part of that onboarding process is your wallet will get initialized. You'll get your keys that will never leave your wallet unless you export them. So what we're trying to come up with right now is that there's a question: if I want to have this really easy user experience around crypto, I've got all of this cryptography. I've got a key pair in my wallet on my mobile device, supposedly secure with contemporary devices and hardware secure enclaves, etc. How do we get that experience if I want to go over to my laptop and I want to browse OpenSea or I want to browse the Unimoon marketplace? How do I authenticate? How do I bring that along, right? So there's some clever things around I call XFA. So it's not just two-factor authentication, it's X-factor authentication. So you log in with the username and password. In the Unimoon app, you can choose to save your fingerprint, so you get an easier the next time. You want to do a transaction, maybe it's Google Authenticator. There's a 2FA challenge, right? But how do you get that, and how do you federate that session over to the marketplace? You can throw a QR code, get a one-time use token, do the federation, and associate that way. That's a possibility. You could do Face ID with the newer. There's a little bit of metaverse in there, right? So it's how do we take that a unique digital representation of a human, of an individual identity, and make it very easy to engage with different modalities of the platform, right? The mobile app's one thing, right? But I want to go over and I want to open a web browser and I want to go to marketplace.unimoon.io, right? And I want to browse other people's stuff very easily, right? I don't want to necessarily do it on a little screen, right? So how do we make that session very elegant and fluid back and forth? We don't have it all figured out right now. We've got a couple of options. The team's going to decide for MVP which one's the best. In 6 months, we may evolve it, but we're going to, the idea is to get all of these pieces elegantly linked together, which is kind of a great place to be right now, a great goal. So that's going on. Things are going really well there. One other thing I want to show too is our block explorer. So explore.unimoon.io. Right, we basically, again, shoulders of giants. So we're reusing the Standard Block Explorer from the Solana ecosystem. Just rebranded it very basically. And we've got our DevNet deployed, right? It'll be up and down. It's not very stable. Right now with Genesis, we have 1 billion token supply. This is just dev. It's going to change. We're playing around with a bunch of different numbers. This is just a test supply. Right now, we've got a multi-quadrillion supply. But this is, again, I wouldn't focus on these numbers so much. These are just experiments we're doing in our dev environment right now. Once we get the multi-node dev or testnet deployed, anybody can go here, click on testnet, and it'll look at pull information from the testnet cluster. There's a couple of things we've got to clean up, some of the integrations. We've got to add SSL next week, or TLS, get the certs kind of deployed, get this experience tightened up a little bit. But the Unimoon network's running. We destroy it every 24 hours in DevNet, just as we build things. And we experiment and we do proof of concept. So the DevNet is meant to be unstable. The testnet will be more stable, and that's what we would actually have our MVP users on, right? So as Dale mentioned, that there'll be kind of an invite process, community members for hodlers, etc. There'll be a process where we kind of open access up, right? And the idea is that it's going to be a tranched process, very similar to traditional Web 2 social media platforms. Facebook had an invite-only process originally. It was university-based, right, where you actually, college students and university students would get a number of invites, right, and they would likely, more often than not, I remember originally, early on, they invited their friends from when they came back from university to their hometowns. They would meet friends from other universities, and when people would return for the semester, they would get invites and stay in touch, and that's really where the explosion, the initial growth curve, and adoption curve for Facebook came from, right? It's a little different now with short form media. We still want to take that gated approach. It's good for the technology. It's good for feedback. It's good for quality assurance. It's good for a lot of reasons, right? We also value functional feedback from the community. So it gives us a chance because we're a scrappy team to really give one-on-one and VIP feedback, like glove feedback to all of the community members that have access and provide kind of unit testing and test feedback. It was a super great week. Just from we're doing a little dev update now. We've got one potential new team member joining. I've got another small group of kind of crypto rock stars that's helping to consult it and fill in gaps from an implementation standpoint. I think the important thing to learn, right, is for everybody to know is that we're all human, right? People get sick. We've had COVID go around different members of the team, actually, so that usually takes 2 to 3 days, even if you're vaccinated. People tend to get ill or under the weather. So we're trying to make allowances for that. Our goal, again, is to get this out by end of Q1, and we're on track for that still. I feel we lost about 2 weeks in a delay. I think we made up about half of that, and I'm hoping at the end of next week that we make up the rest of it and get basically on track. We've targeted end of Q1 to have this out there in MVP, and frankly, we've really never deviated from that. Things are going great. Team's doing awesome right now. From a smart contract and a program standpoint, we've got 2 Solana program POCs completed. We've got one of the production contracts that's actually just started now. We're starting the contract, the Solana program, that's actually going to be responsible for deploying the SAC token rewards, right? So based on the action that comes in to the contract and in the parameters, there's a straight line linear algebra calculation that says, okay, what activity was done? So mark for airdrop over the next epoch, a number of tokens for a particular wallet. So that's coming together. We're starting kind of bottoms up. We're going to create the actual programs first, the contracts, and then wire them into the ML pipeline and wire them into any web services that we need, any Oracle constructs. All in all, it was a great week. I'm super excited to get the NFT screens implemented in Unimoon. I'm super excited to get the beginning of the digital identity pieces, the crypto wallet, in Q2 and Q3 of this year. Dale and I owe the community kind of a longer-term roadmap, a little more functional. The stuff there is great right now, but I actually want to add some more robust digital identity capabilities in there. And yeah, just exciting stuff this week. And Dale, I don't know if there's anything else you want to
No. I think we can just jump into the ask us anything. So yeah, we'll start taking some questions now. We will continue with the dev updates as well. So yeah, we'll just start taking some questions. Just go ahead and raise your hand. I'm not sure if you guys can unmute yourself.
Hey Dale, this is Taylor. I am curious if the marketing team is still Sublime.
Yeah, so Sublime, I'm still discussing terms with them, but we will have. So in tandem, I'm still looking to finalize details with them because we originally were going to have them just market for the mainstream, but it's more important at this point to be able to market to people within the crypto space, especially when we have the actual product. So I've gone back and we've rediscussed what that would look like for them to be able to market in the crypto space along with mainstream marketing. But that would be in addition to the CMO that we will have starting on February 1st. Also, we have, I mentioned this earlier on the call, we have another agency that they've done a lot of things, and they've been written about in Forbes. They have like a full team. It's like a 100-person team with neuroscientists, psychologists that really get down to understanding user behavior specifically for crypto with our products. And they should be able to, they're going to deliver this report. It's going to be a very comprehensive report. We'll share this in the group, but that should be delivered within around 2 weeks. And then they would also help us execute this strategy. So Sublime is also in the works. We just had to go back and forth a few times because originally it was just mainstream marketing, but yeah, I decided it would be better to do both at the same time, marketing in the space for crypto and then also doing the mainstream marketing. But their focus really is mainstream marketing. So that's what I'm currently evaluating with them.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Well, I just wanted to say thank you guys. I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. Carl, I have mad respect for you as a developer. I'm one myself, so.
Awesome. I appreciate it and appreciate the feedback from the community. There's a number of technologists out there. We've gotten offers of help before, et cetera. And I think one thing to long-term keep in mind is and this was one of the AMA questions, I think, in our AMA admin channel is it going to be an ecosystem? We do want third-party apps eventually, right? So again, we're racing here. We're kind of time-bound on the MVP because we want to get it done. We want to get stuff out there. Even if it's incomplete, it's got to be functionally complete. It's got to be front to back, usable, great. And then we'll build on it, but we want partners too. We want third-party developers to come in. So yeah, we're hoping for an exciting year.
Yeah. Yeah. So just go ahead and ask your questions. It looks like you can unmute yourself.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. My name's Noah, and this is the first one that I'm able to tune into, which is
nice.
Great because I'm finally on a lunch break during one of these things.
Cool.
I trust the team. I trust you guys. To me, I can see this. It's an awesome project. But I was going over the CERTIC audit, which is, late last year, and I saw that there were several things of concern to CERTIC that were acknowledged but not addressed. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about that, please.
Yeah. You want to go ahead, Dale?
Well, lot of them was just centralization aspects, but again, we're forking our own Solana, so we're developing a layer 1 blockchain. What you saw, if you joined earlier in the call, you saw our block explorer for DevNet. That's essentially the actual blockchain that you will be able to see the transactions on for our own blockchain. That CerTic audit was just for BSC. The whole entire goal is for us to launch the MVP on our own layer 1 blockchain. So the CerTic audit is it was just for BSC, and it really just comes down to the fact that I primarily have control of coins and things like this, but obviously as the founder, my everything that I do is in alignment for the best of this project. I mean, I'm very connected to this. It's more important for me to be able to deliver this, and it's not only more rewarding, but that's the goal. That's the entire goal from the beginning, was to be able to launch our own blockchain and develop Unimoon, specifically developing Unimoon on our own blockchain. So that was always been the goal, and we're very excited to be able to do this very shortly. We've made a lot of progress, as you guys can see. So hopefully that addresses your concern. Carl, if you want to add to that.
Yeah, and it's been a few months since I looked at the audit. When CerTic, we went, I think, 2 rounds with them, right, where we submitted it, they provide an initial report, and then we basically analyze it. It's like standard software pen tests or security scans. So we go through, figure out what's a false positive, what's really an issue, et cetera. From a best practices standpoint, centralized, right? I mean, to Dale's point, I think at least 30% from what I recall, I think there were like 7 or 8 issues, if I recall. None critical, but the centralization, that's more of a best practice thing, right? I mean, we're frankly, it's right initially, especially at that stage of a project, just launching and kicking off, doing complex multi-sigs, and it's frankly not worth it, right? Especially, we're time boxed, we want to move quickly. We're trying to build up a positive reputation, kind community, innovative, move with urgency. There's some tenets that we're trying to build in the project and the community, right? If it all goes away tomorrow, if the sun explodes, the sun explodes. Nobody can stop that, right? But right now we're at a stage where we're incubating a project, we're starting up new technology, and we're giving it a go, right? And we're racing to the end of Q1. For that CerTic audit, I think there was one low thing that caught my eye. It had to do with maybe an out-of-memory condition or running off one of the collections off the EVM heap. Other than that, compare us with some of the other meme coins. They're going to be littered with errors as well, right? And some of them are concerned, some of them are not. But we got a good thumbs up from CerTic, frankly. And I think we had one other audit done too, that was internal just as a pre-audit. So aside from the centralization, again, it's a Solidity contract on a third-party chain, so it kind of is what it is, right?
No, I wasn't really concerned about when I read it, and really the way you guys answered it, I pretty much figured it was something like that. But like I said, I've been out of the loop, so I really appreciate you answering that.
Yeah, I think there was something about just naming conventions and things like that too. It was, out of the hundreds of thousands of contracts and audits that have been done in the industry, we're probably top 10% best. Like it's honestly, from a functional standpoint, it's perfectly fine. It's fine.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm gonna just answer some of these questions real quick. From Mix Execution, currently the team tokens were burned, and the whole idea behind that was we wouldn't take any tokens until after we migrate. So to answer your question, no. Is it possible to name the wallet addresses on the BSC scan so we know which the dev wallets are? Yeah, you guys can see that on the contract. Actually, you can just look it up on the actual BSC contract, and you can see there's just one wallet that's holding some extra Unimoon tokens, but that's for marketing and things like this. What is the source of the money to run this project for a long term apart from incoming ad revenue? That would primarily be long term. The goal would be for us to be able to launch this on a completely decentralized autonomous organization. So the goal would be for us to launch the MVP, maybe have a few iterations of that to go from the MVP, and then we'll get feedback from the community and we can make adjustments. But really, we want to get this on a decentralized autonomous organization, on a DAO, so the project could be completely self-sovereign. There wouldn't be, really a team at that point. It would just be a self-sovereign running project on its own, and everyone here would be able to vote and have a decision that would help make decisions on how the operational costs and expenses would be distributed, how much the actual holders of the Unimoon token, how much they should actually receive from holding for the ad revenue, for example, because that would be split primarily like 70%, we're estimating around 70% would go back to the actual holders, and then 30% would go to the reserves and for operational expenses. None of that would go to the team because, again, it would be on a decentralized autonomous organization. So that is the goal. We want to get there as soon as possible, but long term, it would be the ad revenue. Are we going to burn more of the supply? Most likely there's a specific use for everything we have in the supply right now. There's really nothing that we could burn extra, except we just have the 1%. It's like every transaction, there's 1% goes into the burn. But that's just how we have it set up for now. From Crypto Geek, how is Gary and Unimoon different in concept apart from the UI? How can Unimoon surpass Gary in concept wise? Like I've seen Gary, I don't believe they have their own layer 1 blockchain. So,
go ahead.
Yeah. From a concept, we're a lot different. We are focusing on the end user. The reason why we have our own blockchain is because we want to be able to isolate variables to really make adjustments for the end user. It's always been about the end user for mainstream adoption. We're not just trying to develop a social media application. We're trying to make the social media application that is familiar for everyone, so that we can achieve mainstream adoption. The end user, this is making it as easy as possible for anybody to be able to use. And I think we're doing a great job at this, and that's been our focus. It's been function and utility, making sure that things are beautiful and aesthetically pleasing while having the function and the ability to be able to get anyone that has no experience in crypto to be able to use it effortlessly, easily, very accessible. So that has always been our focus. And yeah, Carl, you can add to that.
Yeah, and Gary's a good example, right? So I believe they're actually using Solana's mainnet, right? And if I recall correctly, they got a grant from the Solana Foundation. Galaxy Digital is involved. They've got VC backing. They went through a seed round, I think was 300. Then another series was like, I don't know, it was 5 or 10 million, then 13 or something. So they've got tons of funding, right? From a functional difference, right, there's a couple of things. One, Zale's point, we wanted our own L1. Now, L1 comes with headaches. It means we have to run operationally servers and nodes and validators, right? The intention is to not do that long term, right? The idea is we're trying to, for MVP, and probably for the next quarter, Q2, we're trying to bootstrap everything, right? The long-term goal, if you look in the white paper, we have a 5, 10, 20-year goal. Like there's long-term ideas here. We've talked about it in previous AMAs. We want to get away from the kind of the caste system. I'd call it the crypto Web3 caste system, where you have networks, but they're not truly decentralized. You have validators, you have super nodes, you have elected, governance nodes, etc. It's not truly a flat network, right? So it's technically decentralized, but it's still centralized. There's central points of failure, right? So a lot of these blockchains, there's multiple tiers. It's like a pyramid. You have kind of base validators, and then you have some coordination or administrative nodes, right? If those administrative nodes go away, the pyramid crumbles, right? That's not true decentralization. It's kind of hybrid decentralization. By using our own L1, we can explore what does it take to get to light clients, right? How do we put a validator on every single person's phone, right? Is it proof of work? Is it proof of stake? Is it proof of history? We don't know yet, right? The end goal is to truly flatten the network.
Yeah.
Truly
Making it possible for anyone to be able to validate the network. That's ideal. That's what we want. True decentralization, in addition to a decentralized autonomous organization. But that would be the ultimate form of decentralization. Allow anybody that has a smartphone to ideally be able to validate the network on a phone.
And it's tough. People have tried light clients before, like light nodes before. There's projects out there that are specifically engineered to use types of hardware that are lightweight, ARM-based processors, etc., ASICs that run on mobile device or can be packaged for mobile. To do that kind of stuff, it's super challenging. But again, this is a process, right? So we want to get something out there and functional. Why we're different from Gari, frankly, is we've got that ultimate goal to be truly decentralized. We've got a self-sovereign identity goal, right? One of the core tenets of the project is that users control their data. They control their footprint, they control their provenance, etc. You can't do that with Shingari, right? You can't do that with Facebook. Our thesis is, part of our thesis is that these Web 2 legacy incumbents, it's harder for them to adopt this self-sovereignty because their business models aren't amenable to it, their technologies. You can engineer and bolt on and migrate stuff, but the amount of technical debt that they would have to pay off to do that is enormous, right? We're not encumbered by that. So it's really more about the end user and the self-sovereign individual with us. That's our goal, right? It's about not just the technology, but the interaction. Yeah, there's a lot of social networks creeping up around the creator economy and that kind of stuff. But we're trying to think a few steps beyond that. We're trying to start with a platform, get it out for MVP, and then really branch out toward the sovereign individual being able to own everything about their identity. Whereas these other networks, you don't do that right now.
And your content and what that would mean to be able to have privacy of your data. So that's our ultimate goal, true decentralization, which is why we have our own layer 1 blockchain specifically for that reason. How's the business structure of the company? Is Unimoon registered as a legal business entity? So we do have company structures. We're getting things ramped up to really get focused for as a decentralized entity as well. There isn't as a decentralized entity, there really isn't any way to register a decentralized entity. Like Bitcoin isn't a registered company. It's decentralized. So our focus is decentralization. So we're always moving towards decentralization. We're not there yet, but that is our goal and that is our focus. So we're always looking to be able to get to that level where we're going to have a decentralized autonomous organization. We'll have a truly decentralized network. People will have self-sovereignty and own their data, content, network, identity. Management of explicit contents on the app. What content is not allowed? Is it assured or parental controls? For example, porn or bloody videos are allowed and visible to all members. We've touched upon this topic a few times. In the beginning, we will have some sort of provisions. It's primarily going to be done through software. So, for example, we don't want to censor, but at the same time, we do want to protect. We don't want to promote anything illegal. So, like child pornography, for example, would be a clear no. Any sort of child pornography, this would get flagged, and then it wouldn't be allowed on the network. In terms of like porn and bloody videos, we're really, we don't want to be the people that are going to say what goes and what doesn't go. Again, we want this. The goal from the beginning is always to make a decentralized entity. That would mean as a DAO, as a decentralized autonomous organization, all of the users, everyone, once we have the network and we have the DAO set up properly, you guys would be able to vote and make those decisions collectively as the users. That would be a true DAO. And we're always evaluating what would be the best way to get a weighted average for everyone to be able to have as much influence as the other. So, I don't know if there's been a perfect DAO system that's been implemented yet. But again, these are there's some philosophical questions that, Carl and I are kind of juggling back and forth in terms of like what would be the best way to do this. But again, that is the goal for the users, the people that are on the network, to be able to come to a consensus together and be able to make the decisions to decide what should be allowed on the network. But again, in the beginning, we'll just have some software that would, like for example, child pornography that would just not be allowed. Things that are illegal would not be allowed. Do we have partnerships that will create an app on our new blockchain as soon as it's launched, like dating game apps? That was something that we've discussed. Other possibilities that would.
We should take that business. Why not?
Hold on, let me just mute.
Decentralized.
Yeah. So sorry, I muted you, Crypto Bull. But let me just finish this, and then you can jump in and ask a question if you'd like. But yeah, for like the dating game apps, this was a question asked by Lewis78. Yeah, so for dating and games and things like this is potentially what we've written about in the light paper as other type of applications that could be developed on top of our blockchain that would work in tandem with Unimoon. The digital identity could just be like a one-click access where you would have a profile, you would be able to use potentially Unimoon coin within these different applications. That would be more of like a 2-year, maybe after a 1-year goal of launching the MVP. But as of right now, our focus has been just to launch the MVP, getting the design down, getting the functionality down. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question. From Caffeinated User, asking about Solana Ventures. They have a $100 million fund for decentralizing social media using Solana. We haven't looked into this at all yet. I mean, it's possible we may be able to reach out and work with them on this, but we are forking Solana. So I don't know specifically if we would be eligible for that because we're not building on top of Solana. We're forking Solana and then building on our own, but it is essentially we're looking to keep as much of Solana. We have smart contracts and things like this that we're developing, like the social activity coefficient. That is, different smart contracts that we're developing on our own blockchain as a fork of Solana. But our focus is to really be able to keep as much of Solana as possible, and we've paid a tribute to them. They're an amazing project, hence the reason why we're forking Solana. But yeah, that's something that at this moment it's not important. We have enough funding to get to the MVP, and it's a very exciting time for us to be able to do that and be able to launch it. We could take that step if we needed to, but as of right now, it's not necessary. Crypto Bull, go ahead. You were, I don't know if you were asking a question or I muted you because I was in the middle of answering a question. So go ahead if you want. You can chime in and ask a question if you'd like. I don't know if you're still there. Okay, I'll just keep going down this list here. Gary, this is again from Lewis78. The Gary Project have a lot of big partnerships and 140,000 people in Telegram group. Which plan do we have to reach at least the same level of partnerships and number of holders? Look, like we're a different project. We have been very clear with our vision. They're a completely different project, really. They don't have the ability to be as decentralized as we would be able to. By having that many VCs involved, there's really no way to truly decentralize a project like that at that point. They would have a lot of, like Carl was saying, technical debt. But the good thing about our project is we have a very clear vision and we're executing and we're getting very, very close to being able to launch the MVP. And after we have the MVP, we will start working towards delivering a DAO. And this is when people would have ultimate sovereignty and power within the network. So, I mean, you decide what's more valuable to you. What would be a potentially more valuable network? Ken is asking this question. If this moves to its own chain, what happens to my tokens in my Coinbase wallet? Yeah, so we're going to, once it's time and we move to our own layer 1 blockchain, we will be migrating whatever tokens you guys have, whatever you have, you will get, we'll just say for sake of ease, you will get the same amount of tokens. We most likely will be changing our supply. That would be in effect in the best form, the best utility for the project. Again, every decision for the project has always been what will provide the most utility within the network for our project, for Unimoon application. So it's always been about utility. And just for the sake of ease of understanding this migration process, we are not there yet, but when we are, we will make it very, very easy for everybody to do. You will essentially get how many tokens you have. Just think of it as you will get the same amount of tokens that you get, that you have in whatever wallet you're holding it in. So you'll just get a 1-to-1. And then after, we would most likely be changing the supply. But just think of it as of right now as a 1-to-1. Do we intend to have a personal paywall for premium content like Patreon, OnlyFans, Snapchat? This could likely help adoption. A lot of YouTubers have Patreon, and I wonder if we could target their audience a bit. Yeah, I mean, obviously we would. It's it's already just built in. It's actually built in with our application, right? Because you're going to have a wallet, an actual wallet. That's how everyone that's going to be using Unimoon would literally have a wallet when you log in. And like we had mentioned earlier in the call, Carl was saying we're working on figuring out the best way to make this digital identity process as smooth and easy and beautiful and elegant as possible for people to join in. So anyone, my grandma could jump on and use Unimoon potentially, not really understanding how to use crypto, or even, as long as my grandma has, when she does, having experience with, like an application like Instagram. So it would be very easy. But yeah, that would be a part of the utility. There would be more premium, like people could have an option for premium content, and you could accept Unimoon coin, and as well that would be. I don't think we're gonna be able to have that for our MVP, but that is part of the functionality and the utility of what we're building.
Yeah, and I'll just add real quick. I think that's a great idea, actually. The mechanisms for MVP will be there to transfer tokens, obviously, between users, between wallets. The additional, having like a nice, attractive kind of design paywall to tag premium content, that won't be there for MVP, but that's something we should definitely get on the roadmap for later this year, so that users can say, hey, I could envision having like a bumper for like 5 or 10 seconds of the content, and then getting challenged for doing a token transfer and then unlocking that content. But what we're trying to do is build the scaffolding and the framework to easily implement those types of use cases. So I think that's a great idea for something to implement later this year.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions?
There's a couple other. If nobody has questions, there's a few in the mods have kind of gathered up. A couple of stragglers.
I've gone through all the ones in the chat room. I don't know if anybody else has any questions that they'd like to jump in, or you can type in the chat room.
Are you guys hiring?
I mean, we're always looking for valuable people that that can add value to the project. But that's a very broad, that's a very broad question.
Whether sublime marketing takes place in India also?
What's that?
Sublime marketing.
Sublime marketing?
Yeah. In India also, are you going to market in?
Are we going to market in India?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not exactly sure how they're going to plan out the marketing. I'm leaving it to them. We're still evaluating again how they would penetrate into the crypto market. So that's something that we're going back and forth on. But we have, as of right now, a CMO that will join us on February 1st, and we have a go-to-market strategy with a very comprehensive plan that is being developed right now, and that will be delivered in roughly 2 weeks. And then that agency would also be executing that, and they've been written about in Forbes and things like this. So they're I'm very excited to be able to work with them and also have a CMO join us.
Thank you, Dale. Okay.
Yeah, so the 1-to-1 ratio and the main supply, just again, like for the ease of understanding, it's the 1-to-1 ratio. You would just, if you have, let's say, 1 million Unimoon coin, then you will get another 1 million Unimoon coin. We most likely will be changing the supply, but you're not going to lose any value. So if we divided the supply by 1,000, then you would get 1,000 tokens less, divided by 1,000, a factor of 1,000. But that's a lot of math, and it's confusing for a lot of people. So you're going to get the one-to-one, you're going to get the same amount of value. But it's confusing for most people to understand. So let's just say that it's a one-to-one. Yeah.
Hey Dale, I was actually curious. What you said you were a crypto consultant in the past. Like,
I do
are you able
consulting.
to?
I did. I did like advising. I worked with different projects like back in 2017. Boon, Crowd Machine. Yeah, just a few of these. This was back in 2017.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Do we have any other questions?
I saw one random question earlier around how how we're integrating with Facebook and like a lot of these big, larger social media companies, right? So I think the important thing is that when you register, the strategy right now is when you register for Unimoon, you install the app, you sign up, you can actually federate in with your existing Facebook account, your Google ID, or your Apple ID. So the idea is we recognize that users, and this is a pet peeve of mine, I have a bunch of different ideas for different ecosystems, right? I try to centralize them on login with Google, et cetera. The single sign-on technology, basically, three-legged OAuth, things like that. It makes our individual human lives easier for different digital properties and virtual properties. What we're looking to do is basically use those as onboarding points of ingress, so you can authenticate and do a three-legged OAuth into the app from Google, initially it's Google, Facebook, and Apple ID. Now, I've been frustrated by going to websites and being able to log in with 20 different things, Twitter, et cetera, all that, right? So we're just doing those three right now to start for MVP. But the idea is once you're in, you build out over time your profile inside Unimoon, right? And then that basically you matriculate your digital identity into Unimoon, right? So this is not just a crypto wallet. It's not just a social media app. It's a digital identity wallet, right? We want, eventually, long-term, you go to a store, you authenticate with Unimoon to pay your bill. You go to a store, or you're crossing a border, you have your vaccine passport in the Unimoon app. That's the goal. Is that it's a digital identity wallet, right? That's one of the ultimate goals. We want it to be really functional, right? We want Unimoon and the Unimoon network to be a platform where you can communicate with other users, that you can transfer value with other users, right? Based on the token, the utility of the token. So be able to say, okay, I've got some attention, right? And through the token representation, transfer it to another user, right? In the ecosystem, and then they can transfer it to another user, et cetera, right? That's the idea, right? But that really all starts with digital identity. It's who you are, right? We have concepts we're building out of personas. So just like you go to a website and you log in with one of 20 Google accounts that you have, right? The idea is that, and probably we'll explore this more in Q2 and Q3 for implementation, but different personas. So you have one core digital identity, but, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a technologist, I'm a soccer player, etc. That I'm still me, I'm still Carl, but my persona changes depending on where I'm at, depending on the property I interact with. My persona is going to change, right? Some properties I want to share my first name, other ones I don't, right? Some properties I want to share my gender and my birth date, etc., because they require it. Other ones I don't, right? And the idea is that we're going to provide functionality based on that digital identity to say, I've got my core digital identity. This is who I am physically, right? This represents me. It's my private key, right? I'm going to take a subset of that as a persona when I'm interacting with OpenSea. I'm going to take a subset of that as persona when I'm interacting with google.com, right? So the idea is to giving all that control and flexibility to the individual user, and it all is going to be centered in the Unimoon app. So that's our plan, to not only get users over from other social networks, but to keep them there, or keep them here, and provide an ultimate level of utility and functionality through the Unimoon platform. You're muted, dude.
Yeah, does anybody else have any questions? Okay, well, I guess we'll just wrap it up here. Yeah, thank you guys all for joining. It's always very exciting for us to be able to have these AMAs with our community. We value everyone here, and we're very excited to be able to get to the test flight point and be able to get the actual application into our holders' hands and be able to get some feedback on the application and get people to really actually like go in and use it. And that would be, I guess, the next biggest milestone that we're expecting to be able to deliver that in about 2 months.
There's one more question there, Dale. I'll answer. It looks like it's been repeated. Am I working full-time on Unimoon? I don't know what the definition of full-time is. It's taking up not most of my waking hours, but it's a material part of my life right now. So I'm working on it every day. I've got a team of people. This is not a one-person job, right? There's the team spread out across mobile developers, blockchain developers, marketplace, not even counting design, is probably about 10 people right now. So this is a team effort. I want to make sure it gets started well, and then I can focus on things like the white paper and stuff like that, which I deem a little more fun. Right now we're in the trenches, but hopefully we'll come up for air in the next month or two and do some of the more of the strategic stuff. But yeah, this is a great project, right? So it's getting a significant chunk of my attention, at least 40 hours a week right now, right? It's spread out. And if that's what you consider full-time, then yeah, that it's happening. So.
Yeah, go ahead. Caffeinated user, go ahead. Looks like you wanted to ask another question.
Oh, sorry. It was just the question Carl just answered, actually.
Okay.
I'm good. Thank you.
Any last questions?
Hey, Dale. I just had a quick one, and it's not actually a question. What I wanted to ask is, before you hang up, if you could just give from an investor's perspective, if you could just give the quick elevator pitch of how things are going to work as far as people coming into the project and their investments. The only reason I'm asking is I know it's been covered a lot of other times, but when people look at AMAs, they start from the newest to the oldest, and if they don't go that far, they might not ever get that. So, that might be a big thing just for a new person coming in to check out the project real quick.
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
Well, it's not a question. It was just an elevator pitch, basically, of how a person coming into Unimoon now, a new investor, how they're going to let. When we talked about it before, is about like the advertisements and everything, all the advertising that goes on within Unimoon. A lot of that goes back to the actual like the people creating content, but some of it will actually be used to come back to investors holding the token. And that was kind of one of the big things that was a selling point for people to get into it now, basically, get into the project now.
We're focusing on a decentralized social media network, a truly decentralized social media network, the way that the data would be stored to the ownership of the entire network, to have a DAO, self-sovereignty. And with that, we're focusing on the utility. So, everything that we're doing is to have a functional use case. The network, the coin, and by holding, you would be later on, once the network is developed, and there's advertising, you would be able to receive part of the advertising revenue. But it's really just, do you believe in what we're doing? Are you an enthusiast and support the project? Then that is, we appreciate the support. But I can't specifically comment on anything about investing in money, price speculation, things like that, because we're focusing on building a functional utility in the crypto space. Okay. Well, hopefully that answers your question or comment. Any last questions here before we wrap this up? Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining our AMA. This is always really exciting. So we'll have this was basically, we had this set up about 2 months ago for the AMAs. We'll set some more up as well. Carl and I will get together and figure out our schedules, and we'll schedule some more AMAs because we definitely love to have these, and we want to keep the community updated and allow this time for feedback and questions and comments and things like that. So again, thank you guys for joining us. We're very, very excited. We're making huge progress. And like Carl had said, we're literally on track. Our development is getting closer and closer. We're getting closer and closer to actually having Unimoon downloadable from the App Store. And that's going to be very exciting and the start of truly decentralized media. So thank you guys for your support, and we look forward to the next one. See you guys.